Hey there, Internet. So, I'm back out here in the kitchen instead of being at my grandfather's desk. If you haven't seen my videos before, it is from my grandfather's desk with Pat Mackin. Normally, I'd be in the other room at the desk to discuss politics and whatnot. But I had to come back out here because of something I have to talk about from the last video. But kind of just got two main things to talk about, which is the last two videos. It's kind of a revisit. Granted, today, Democrats, long run, you can go back and watch my video on thank you, Democrats, for helping pushing gun control, because ultimately, by them pushing gun control, the precedents will then be set by overturning those laws, locking us in for a good long time on support on keeping the 2A. So because Jay Inslee and Sideshow Bob Ferguson are too unaware, too deranged about gun control to realize what they're doing to themselves in the long run. Keep hope, but we got to work on winning elections. Those laws will be overturned, and then they'll be stuck with it. I would love to be the fly on the wall the day that they get told, your gun ban is unconstitutional and there's no more appeals. Love to see the meltdown. So let's talk about the first. Trump got indicted. Now, of course, I'm not a Trump fan. I am a conservative, but I think there's better options out there. But he made himself a political martyr. Now, a friend of mine said that he commented that he's really happy to see all the bad people messing up, getting nailed, whether it's Trump or anyone else. He'd like to see the others too. But I think I need to clarify this. If you want to say what Trump may or may not have done shouldn't be legal, we should prosecute a guy who was president, fine, but do it equally. That's why I think that this is absolutely politically motivated. Alvin Bragg ran on getting Trump. It was like the stated goal. He didn't run on cleaning up the streets and locking criminals away. No, he lets them go and punishes people that defend themselves. Remember Jose Alba? He was getting charged with murder for defending himself, and they never did charge the guy that died's girlfriend, who was reaching through the counter trying to stab him with another blade. Never charged her, but charged the guy that defended himself. And was going to try and get away with it with a parking garage attendant until apparently they got handed too much evidence that wasn't going to fly, and probably some public outrage that they won't admit, and dropped charges when the guy took the gun away. I got shot twice, took the gun away from somebody, and then shot the guy that attacked him. They were going to charge him too. So Alvin Bragg is the kind of guy you shouldn't want to have. These Soros DAs. But he absolutely is going, he's not going, if you want to say they should go after Trump, well, number one, we're finding out that, again, like anything, the cover-up is worse than the actual thing he did wrong. He shouldn't have had an affair to begin with. This is why I was very irritated with a lot of Christian leaders who said Trump's going to fight for us and pushed Trump in 2016 only to have, he was a serial adulterer. We already knew that. He was he owned strip clubs or gentlemen's clubs. His behaviors were not what, a Christian leader should be, and that they endorsed him. And then, of course, to no one's surprise, he had an affair, tried to cover it up. If he'd written that check from his own funds to pay the hush money, he actually wouldn't have gotten in trouble. I don't understand how you can say this is an underlying crime because it covered up another underlying crime when you can't even charge him with the underlying crime. I do believe Democrats are trying to keep him from running, and that's just going to make him a political martyr, whether he runs or not. If he's just a kingmaker, and I don't see him endorsing anybody but maybe Ron DeSantis, of those that have declared. Even though he's insulting Ron DeSantis, and that turns me off. But if you're going to charge him, you absolutely should be charging Hillary for being sloppy with her use of secure information. You should be charging Biden for the quid pro quo of getting a prosecutor fired in Ukraine that was investigating a company his son was involved with. Should be prosecuting him for whatever 10% for the big guy was. You should be prosecuting people at Hillary's campaign that only paid a $10,000 fine for whatever their campaign finance violation was. Hillary's 2016 campaign is still in legal operation because it allows them to funnel money around. So be even-handed. That means you even need to say, look, if you're going to believe people that have come forward after years and years and years to accuse Justice Kavanaugh when he was in his confirmation hearings, some of whom, not the original person to make the accusation, which Democrats weren't even sure they really wanted to believe until they actually pulled her out of the bag trying to stop him. Some of them had later admitted they were just trying to pile on, which should be a crime, I would think anyway, to go and make those false accusations. But you need to go charge Slick Willie, go charge former President Clinton for his attack that is much more corroborated on Juanita Broaddrick. I'm sure you can find something to charge Obama with, probably Bush if you wanted to, which they say everybody does something that's illegal, so we could all be criminals. But if you're going to go after them, Trump, you need to go after them. And this is a danger that liberal Democrats don't seem to realize that they have gotten themselves in. By using prosecutorial power potentially politically, they've essentially said fair game on their own people. And there are local DAs trying to find a way to charge Biden with something, but even charging his son or charging others. So, that's kind of a thing to do. But you know what? I'm not going to defend illegal behavior. I'm only noting that the choice of charges and who's charging and where they're charging, that's clearly political. And what's most disturbing is that a substantial, they said something to the effect of 2/3 of people thought it was, a third of Democrats were approved of the charges, and 76% of people thought it was political, which means there's an overlap between those who think it's okay to charge him and those who think it's okay to use prosecutorial power against your political opponents. That's disturbing. That's the most disturbing thing. But then the other thing that happened is I need to give everybody an apology because I didn't do enough due diligence apparently. The other day I did a video on Dylan Mulvaney being chosen by Bud Light to be a partner. Now, my issue is that they're trying to push all this LGBTQ stuff on us. They're trying to make us all join in and shape us. And it extends into all these other things. Build-A-Bear is doing a drag queen bear. Nike is now having Dylan Mulvaney as their spokesperson for women's sports bras, because only women should wear a bra. And wondering, why is Dylan Mulvaney, who does not have the body parts needed for a bra, wearing a bra and promoting them? It's completely bizarre. Because Dylan Mulvaney is not a woman. Sorry, a trans woman is not a woman. Despite what a mob that attacked the, I think his name was Simone Biles, or I forget exactly her first name. Biles is her last name. She was a swimmer and got attacked in San Francisco. I don't got my computer in front of me. It's on its last legs. Well, I said, you know what? We should all just stop buying Bud Light. And so I went down to the little store where I'd found a different beer that I had previously bought before years ago. They didn't have any, so I picked another dark beer, and I get on my phone to double check to make sure that wasn't an Anheuser-Busch product. Because it's not just Bud Light. If you only do the one brand, you're letting that company offer easy. Well, I screwed up. Because that beer that I showed on here was from Elysian Brewing Company. Elysian Brewing Company is owned by AMI Bev, which is from Netherlands, which owns Anheuser-Busch. I apologize to everybody for not doing my due diligence. I got on there, looked, I thought I was in the clear. The next day, I'm listening to Tim Pool, and it says, here's a whole list. I said, Elysian? I checked that. So it must have been either how Google put it, or how the way I worded the question. I thought it was not a Anheuser-Busch product, because this is the point of this. We all got to be careful when we go to do something like that. Say, I'm not going to buy their products, because some of these major corporations, they've gone in and bought crap. It turned out, I found out Anheuser-Busch went out and bought like 6 craft breweries, and Elysian was one of them. They are no longer owned by their founders. Well, I spent this evening trying to find it in a 22-ounce bottle, and I want to say, I am not sponsored. I have 28 subscribers right now. Nobody would sponsor me. I do not know the politics of this company. But what I do know is that Iron Horse Brewery, who makes Coulter's Irish Death, this is my preferred beer, but it does come in cans. They used to call it a square root of 36 pack, but now they just call it a 6-pack. They are owned by their founders. Now, they might be apolitical. Maybe they totally disagree with me. I don't know. My point is that there's other brands you could turn to. Maybe even one that brews beer. There's probably a craft brewery in the United States that's not on board with all this woke crap. And so you can have a good beer, and somebody knows of a non-woke or even anti-woke beer brand, great. I might get it into the link on the description below after I get this video up. I found a database that supposedly was all these pledges to BLM. Got news for you. If you're trying to go anti-woke, Miller Brewing Company gave a big pile of money, like $4.5 million, to BLM groups. Now, some of these groups, like Lowe's, my former employer, they gave money to a group giving out grants to small businesses. Not necessarily, people starting businesses, that's not really all that woke. But again, proper color for a beer. A nice, dark ale. Like that. Cheers. And so that's the point. So look up your favorite beer. If it's not Budweiser, if it's not Bud Light. And I can only repeat what my wife said about it, about losing respect for me. A man should have the respect of his wife. That would be damaging to a marriage. Beer version of a wine cooler. The kind of beer a woman would drink if trying to be like the guys. What you drink on April Fool's Day to make people think you're drinking your own pee. And say, well, it's a sissy beer. And, Dylan Mulvaney is a controversial person. It's not the fact that Dylan Mulvaney is just trans. The behaviors of Dylan Mulvaney should be offensive to trans people. I've been acquainted with 2 people that, while I knew them, were either trans or everyone strongly suspected they were trans women. There's another former coworker who transitioned that I have not been around specifically to see them at a distance. None of those people act like Dylan Mulvaney. They don't have hiking heels. They don't have shopping shorts. They don't sing about normalizing the bulge. Dylan Mulvaney, if you don't think he's doing woman face, he's doing trans face. He's offensive to he should be offensive to trans people. And this is just shoving these views. And Dylan Mulvaney has been at an event with the White House pushing the idea that kids should get these procedures. And of course, the Biden administration won't say an age below which kids can't give consent either. So I do think that, do like Matt Walsh has suggested, and he was going back and forth on Twitter the other day with somebody, I can't remember who, saying we should pick one company and make them hurt. Well, let's pick IamBev. I'm not going to say go after Jack Daniels because, if you're into that side of things, you probably want to drink alcohol too. Maybe you like certain beverages. People wanting to advertise two people into that, I kind of get. The whiskey I have in the bottle in the fridge, that is a different brand. It is not Jack Daniels. But give them the ability. Give somebody else your money. And make Anheuser-Busch pay at the dollar sign on the bottom line. And if enough of times they start really paying for this woke stuff, they're going to hurt. They're going to back down and they're going to stop trying to push it. Because right now it's like they're doubling down on it. Nike was literally saying anybody that's negative about Dylan Mulvaney being that negative comments, they were just going to delete the comments. So if a woman said, I don't want to buy sports bras advertised by a man pretending to be a woman, this is insulting, they were just going to delete her comments. Nike does not like you, hates you if you do not ascribe to this. Because there is no middle ground. If you do not agree with them, you are automatically right wing. The minute you don't agree on everything. I got a friend at work. She's not on board with all this. Most of her views are to the left. I got news for you. She's getting shoved into the right eventually. I heard today that you're not supposed to call them trans. Somebody at work said that. I said, what are you supposed to call them? He said, gender modified. And then when I told him I was going to quote him, he said, no, I don't want anything to do with that. So I won't say who it was. Suffice to say, I heard it at work. But, if you don't get all on board, you're to be vilified. So until then, tomorrow's, I do this on Saturday night. Tomorrow is Easter. Have a happy Easter. Certainly give thanks for the fact that Jesus died on the cross, rose again. And until then, I'm going to enjoy a beverage that's not an Anheuser-Busch product. And you all take care.